What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Flow State with yours truly, Harry Mack. Super stoked for this episode. I'm going to talk to y'all about where I'm at, releasing more music in 2024. We're going to take some questions from the audience, talk about my meditation practice, give some advice to all the creatives out there who might be struggling to take the first step. I'm going to react to myself freestyling for Ice Cube. It's about to go crazy, man. Make sure y'all enjoy.
This is for my flow state. Add it, yeah. Y'all know we back at it. Ain't it crazy how the mind works magic? We gon' show you the method behind the madness, 'cause this is for my flow.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Flow State Podcast with yours truly, Harry Mack. Super excited to be back in the mix with y'all. Hope y'all are enjoying the podcast so far. I'm really enjoying getting this thing up and running, man. It feels really good to be doing this and to kind of be in the swing of it. So stoked to be here with y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's 2024. All right. And something that I'm super excited about this year is the fact that I'm releasing more music. At the time of this recording, the single 2024 is out. That's been going crazy on YouTube, thanks to you all. So thank you so much. And on streaming as well. And also the Process EP is out now, 4 tracks on that, guy. So huge shout out to all the fans that have been supporting those. And I'm sure by the time you see this, there will be even more music out in the wild because we got a lot of songs on deck that I'm really excited to get out to you all. So I feel really, really excited about going hard on the recorded music front. And I'll say this, like, this is the first time in really ever in my life that I've had what feels like a really good flow making music in the studio. You know, the name of this podcast is Flow State, and obviously I'm really big on flow state. And usually I talk about it within the context of freestyling, but, you know, flow state is something that can be applied within any field, obviously, and with any kind of work. And for the first time ever, I'm actually hitting flow state in the studio while I'm writing and recording music. And I almost hesitate to say writing because I'm not always writing it down. Sometimes I am, but sometimes I'm just recording it directly into the DAW and utilizing that process. So there's a bunch of different processes that I'm exploring and experimenting with and sort of leaning into and seeing which ones really work. But it feels good to be in a flow and to be consistent with it for the first time. And I think, you know, I've had such a kind of interesting trajectory within the world of music and content creation and all of the things that I do because, you know, I came out the gate, obviously, as the off-top freestyle guy. And, you know, I love that. I've been obsessed with freestyling since I was, 10 or 11 years old or whenever I first did my first freestyle. But, you know, it's interesting when you come out the gate as a freestyler and, you know, that's what was working for me and I leaned into that. Everything has sort of spawned from that notion of me being, you know, a freestyle rapper. What's funny is actually before I ever did a freestyle, I wrote a rhyme, right? Like that's the first thing I ever did. I wrote a rhyme in my big green notebook back when I was in 5th grade. So the writing actually came first, and then we started trying to figure out how to freestyle, right? And then even all through middle school and high school, I was doing both, and I was loving freestyling and enjoying it, but really like the main focus for all those years was writing and recording songs and creating our CDs and projects. When we would do our live shows back then in high school with my group State of Mind, the show was like 90% written material and then, you know, probably 95% written material. And then we would incorporate a little cypher for maybe 5 minutes and freestyle over a few beats just for fun. So it's really quite interesting that the way that this whole thing got started for me was from the off-top freestyling with that first video I did, Bounce House, back in 2016. And, you know, it's funny too, because leading up to that, you know, like in the years, I guess, during college and after college, you know, in the years leading up to the first video in 2016, like I really wasn't seeing myself as a rapper in a serious light. You know, because I didn't have the belief yet that I could actually do that, right? So I had a lot of limiting self-beliefs during that time that prevented me from actually leaning into what was my biggest passion in life, which was rapping, written or freestyle. You know, during those years, I didn't know. I didn't think it was going to be necessarily one or the other. I had always assumed that it would be both. But I also had all these limiting self-beliefs. I had gone to college to be a jazz drummer. You know, it's unrealistic to try to pursue a career as a rapper. That's never going to happen. You know, a lot of beliefs like that were really holding me back. And I was struggling with a lot of, you know, personal issues. I was struggling with, you know, addiction and all kinds of things, man. I wasn't loving myself during that time. So in order for me to get my career started in the thing that I was and have been most passionate about my whole life, I feel, or for most of my life, which is rapping, I had to get pushed off, the deep end. And that was what my first video in 2016 was. It was, my friend asking for a favor and filming me freestyling while driving down the street. And I had no idea that video was going to get 100,000 views, And so that was the catalyst for me starting this career as a freestyler. So, I totally got thrown into it. And I needed that push, right? I needed something to just sort of like shake the whole foundation of where I was at personally so that I could get over a lot of the, kind of like bullshit negative self-beliefs that I had been holding on to for so long. And so seeing that first video, Bounce House, get the 100,000 views, I was like, God damn, there's something here. There's real energy here. What would happen if I actually tried, right? Like what would happen if I actually shed that belief that I can't be a rapper and said, you know what, maybe I can be a rapper. Actually, maybe I just am a rapper. Like maybe I just have been a rapper this whole time. And that's why, the time that I feel the most alive is when I'm at the house party and somebody says, let's cypher and puts the beats on and I go, even when I had those negative self-beliefs, those were the times when I felt the most like myself and when I felt the most excited to be alive. And so it was like, as soon as I had that shift, the skills were already elevated, but it was the beliefs that were keeping me here, that were keeping me at a lower level. And so it was like, as soon as that video like shook me out of that, I was able to rise to the level where my skills were actually at, right? Because the skills were there because I'd been rapping for so long, freestyling and writing. So yeah, I had to get thrown into it, and it was the off-top freestyling thing that started my wave, right? And I'm so grateful for that because what happened then was I was able to say, well, let me keep making freestyle videos and see what I can build. And I was able to start creating momentum around myself as an off-top freestyler. And then what happened was sometime around like 2017, after I had maybe another viral video, I think I had like the Venice Beach Part 1 freestyle video, which came in February 2017. That was kind of my second big hit, so to speak. And, the most viral video that I had ever done at that point in time. And so for the first time, I was like, okay, wow, this is actually taking off, and I felt that momentum building. And then there was this sort of notion that, I would have to figure out how to pivot, basically. Everybody that I talked to, because that video was going viral, I was able to like get in some rooms with some people, not anybody like, A-list huge, but I started meeting with people who, work in artist management or people who, work for record labels or work for radio stations. People would reach out and say, hey, I'd love to pick your brain or chat with you. And they were feeling me out, what my goals were and where I was at. And I was always showing up with a lot of excitement around what I was doing currently, right? Which was creating this freestyle, off-top freestyle wave with viral content. But a lot of times, most of the time, the message that I was getting back from other people was like, this is cool. Like, this is amazing. You clearly have this really dope, raw talent. But like, what are you going to do? Like, how are you going to pivot? And it was always weird to me because I always wanted to say like, I'm already doing it. Like, I'm doing what I want to do. That's why I'm doing it. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be freestyling off the top of the dome and creating content around it because that feels really exciting and it feels like there's a lot of energy around that for me right now. So it wasn't a situation where I had like a vault full of 100 dope songs or something like that, or I was just sitting on a mixtape or an album that I felt was classic and I was just waiting for my moment to release it to the world. It wasn't like that at all. And in fact, because I had been sort of like struggling and dealing with my own limiting self-beliefs for so long before my videos started coming out, I hadn't even been in the studio like in any serious capacity for years. Like seriously, like I hadn't like gone in the studio to like record a track in I don't know how many years, a very long time. So it wasn't like I was used to doing that or I had all the music ready and I was like, yeah, just like put me in, coach. Now that everybody's watching me, I'm going to drop this single and it's going to go to radio and then I'll drop a classic mixtape and it's just going to be over and I'm going to be touring, the world like that. That wasn't the case. I really was, just leaning into the momentum that I felt from the spark of that first video. And so because I was hearing all this messaging of, you're going to have to pivot. What are you going to do with that? You're going to have to figure it out. Like, what's the next step? Which, of course, implies that what I was doing currently was not the wave, right? That like continuing to make freestyle content for YouTube and social media was not the wave. So how can I use that and leverage that to do something else? And obviously, like the course that conversation usually took was like, you should be recording music. And so I knew that at a time in my life, I had loved writing and recording music. I knew that I wrote a rhyme before I ever freestyled a rhyme, right? So I knew that there was a writer or a recording artist inside of me, but that side of me had not been nurtured in a really, really long time. And yet I felt like I had to do it, right? Like that's what everyone was telling me. Like, you have to figure out how to make records. That's the only way that any of this other viral stuff matters in the end. Otherwise it fizzles, otherwise it has no significance. Like, in and of itself, it's nothing. So that was the message. And so I put this incredible amount of pressure on myself to be a dope recording artist, even though I hadn't practiced that in years. And even though it wasn't like what was naturally flowing through me at that time, right? And so, I started forcing myself literally to work on my first project, since being a solo act as Harry Mack. Like, my first official project since high school, straight up, which I graduated from high school in 2008. And this was now 2017. So, yeah, I started diving back into that, putting a ton of pressure on myself. And I ended up calling the project Contents Under Pressure, which is like super accurate to how I felt, because I was under this incredible amount of pressure is how I felt. It was like, damn, I got all this attention from these viral freestyle videos. And if I don't figure out how to make this dope project, I'm going to drop the ball. Like, I'm going to mess it all up. And then none of it will have mattered. Like, it will all be for naught. And this will just be a random blip on the radar of like the dude that went viral freestyling on the Venice Strip. And so when you're operating from that type of place, that is like the worst type of place to be operating from if you're trying to do creative work. Like, it's not open in any way. It's not like exciting, and there's no room for experimentation. There's no room for growth. There's no room to just like put the reps in and maybe make some songs that aren't that dope in the beginning, because considering it's been however many years, 8 or 9 years since you've even tried doing this, let's just like get the ball rolling and see what comes. Let's be easy on ourselves. Let's be cool. Like, that would be an ideal situation. And this was the opposite of that. It was like, you have to do this, and you have to do this yesterday. Like, you're already dropping the ball. So again, I was back in this sort of negative space for a whole different reason. Before, I was in a negative space because I just couldn't envision myself being a rapper, period. That's really bad. Now I've broken through that barrier, but I'm back in this negative space of feeling like, okay, I can freestyle, but I don't yet know how to make records, and I need to know how. And so I'm very proud of Contents Under Pressure, because I set out to do it, and I did it, and I finished it. So I'm always going to be really proud of it. And I put a lot of heart in it, and I gave it all that I had at that time. But it wasn't a very enjoyable process overall, making Contents Under Pressure, because I wasn't doing it for me. I was doing it to appease everybody else, period. I was doing it because everybody I talked to who seemed like they knew more than me, and for sure they did know more than me in their areas, right, within the music industry, they were all telling me that I have to figure out how to do this project, and it has to be dope, and it has to work, and this is my moment. And this is probably my one moment, on some Eminem 8 Mile, if you have one shot. So that's how I felt. So it wasn't very enjoyable. And it didn't do that much, I think it has definitely some artistic integrity, and I still like some of the music on there. But it didn't do that much in terms of numbers, and it didn't really move the needle for me necessarily. And I had kind of taken a long break from YouTube and from making freestyle content to do the project, because I felt like I needed to focus on it. So I was kind of like putting all my eggs in that basket. And then not that much happened, it was kind of like, oh, okay, all right, well, it's out. And I had to do some self-reflection at that time and, decide what I was going to do next. And what ended up happening was I realized that, I had sort of not crushed, but I had slowed the momentum way down on the freestyle content. And that was what was really filling me with joy to begin with. And it sort of dawned on me that I had been doing this project for everybody else except for me. Let me get back to doing what I love. And so from that period onward, I think that was 2019 that Contents Under Pressure came out at the beginning. So throughout the rest of 2019 and on into 2020 and through the pandemic, as many of you know, if you're fans of me already, I went hard on freestyle off-top content and building as much momentum as I could within that arena. And I'm continuing to go hard, building as much momentum as I possibly can in that arena. I love being a freestyle rapper, and I love pushing the boundary of what's possible with off-top freestyle rap. I'm super proud of what's already been built, and I'm even more excited about, what is yet to come within the arena of freestyling. From making those videos to figuring out how to, go even more viral with the videos, to having opportunities to freestyle for some of my heroes and for legends within the rap game, to getting into a position where I was able to go on tour as a headliner twice, and, play sold out shows in cities that I'd never even visited, with like basically a fully improvised off-top freestyle show. That's all amazing to me. And honestly, I feel like it's just the beginning. So the freestyle side is still something that I'm incredibly passionate about. And I know that it's something that I have a talent for, obviously, and a yearning to get better at. And it's something that just organically excites me. It flows through me. It feels fucking good to freestyle. And this podcast is called Flow State. The easiest access point for me to hit flow state is through freestyling off top. So I also was very inspired to prove, that, hey, you actually can build a sustainable career around creating off top freestyle content. That you actually can prove that in and of itself has value, and I've always known that because I've always felt the magic of hearing other great freestylers and being in their presence. And I've always felt the magic of freestyling with other people in a cypher, but everyone was all, within the industry was always sort of saying, well, that's not the thing. That's not actually valuable in and of itself, and you have to figure out how to change it. And so that also fired me up, to say, like, I actually think there is something here. And maybe I could do a headlining tour as an off-top freestyle rapper. And maybe the joy that freestyle rapping spreads is the value, and I've seen firsthand how many smiles it can spread. So I'm going to continue building on the freestyle side, and I love it. That being said, the voice of the writer, okay? That little voice of that dude that wrote that first rhyme back in 5th grade or whatever it was. And the dude that was in State of Mind in high school writing his bars methodically. That guy started chiming in again. And the whispers and the murmurs started to rise up again. And, I feel like he was basically saying, in not such plain English, more of a vibe or a sensation that I was feeling, but I feel like he was basically saying, hey man, I've always been here. And, I don't deserve to be slept on, because of the negative self-beliefs that you had for all those years, or because of the negative self-beliefs that were put inside of your head from people that you talk to in the industry. I'm also part of the MC or the artist that is Harry Mack. So what's up? When are you going to let me, come out and play? And so it feels really fucking good to be getting back in tune with the writer. And, freestyling, I've been going hard and putting hours in for days and days and days and months and years now. The writing, not consistently. And so this is the first time where I'm hitting a flow state in the studio and being consistent with writing songs and making music. And it feels really, really good. And this time, I'm not letting the fact that writing is less comfortable for me cause me to immediately just give up when it gets hard and jump back to the thing that comes more easily to me, which is freestyling off the top of the dome. And I really feel like that's what's gotten in the way in the past is, as soon as I wrote a song I didn't like, or as soon as I couldn't come up with anything and it felt difficult, or as soon as I listened back to the record and it felt like it would never compete with anything else that's going on. A lot of the things that I talk about in that song, Should I Write This Rhyme, which is out now and part of the Process EP, it would always just send me running back to freestyling. And I would just say, I don't know. It's not worth it. Like, I can't figure out how to make records. I can't figure out how to write. And let me just do what's already working and what I'm already good at. And again, I love freestyling. So there's much worse things I could go running back to because I'm passionate about freestyling. So, I love it and I need to keep doing it because I want to keep doing it. But I think with writing, it's about doing the hard thing, for me right now especially. And it's going to get easier over time and I'm going to get better. But I'm somebody who loves a challenge. I love looking up at the mountain peak and not even being able to see the peak because it's up there in the clouds, but knowing that the work I'm doing right now every single day and the fact that when it's hard, I'm doing it anyway is going to get me to a point where I can see the peak and then eventually get me to a point where I'm actually up there in the high elevation trying to breathe. I can hardly breathe because I'm up there with the Sherpas, dude. I'm getting close to the peak, man. So I'm very fired up about it. I'm super excited to be writing records and dropping music. I hope you guys are digging it. I hope you're enjoying it. Let's fucking go. All right. So, sorry, that was a long intro, man. I had a lot to talk about, I guess. But we have some questions from the community that we're going to answer. Also, shout out to my producer, Sam. Sam, how you feeling, man?
I'm feeling good, man. It's interesting to hear you break down this process because, to be honest, from my point of view, it's been about like a month that you've really kind of focused on that.
Yeah.
So what do you think there's been any like turning point? Just going back to that real quick, like, how's it feeling? Has there been any turning points since Should I Write This Rhyme or Suggest You Listen where you're feeling a little more comfortable? How's the whole process been going for you?
Yeah. There's definitely been a turning point within myself, for sure, where I don't know what exactly happened, but I said, like, I needed to reframe how it felt when it got hard. Like in the past, every time writing got hard, I was just like, why am I even doing this? Like there's this other thing that I'm like good at and that people love. And like, I could just be doing that. Like, why am I even trying to do this? And there was a paradigm shift within myself that was like, oh no, it's good that it's hard because that means it's an opportunity where if you continue doing it, even though it's hard, you'll actually get better. And the only way you don't get better is if you get frustrated when it's hard and switch off it. So there was that. And then I think the other turning point too is like, because I've released so much less music as opposed to like freestyle off top stuff, I haven't given myself that many opportunities to be rewarded for like finishing and releasing a song. Right. You know what I mean? Like I'm constantly rewarded for finishing a piece of freestyle content like all the time. It's always coming out and then, I get feedback from an audience like or, oh wow, it got X number of views or even just I watch it and say, this is dope. That's reward enough, even without the numbers and stuff. Cause I feel it's important not to really get caught up on the numbers in the first place. But just the reward of seeing it out in the world and having it off my chest and off my hard drive, that's happened so many times for freestyle content, but so many fewer times for songs. So I feel like just by releasing 2024 and being like, oh shit, it's a song. Like that was my first song that I dropped in, I don't know how long, man. So then it was like, oh wow, that feels really good to have that out. And then I was like, okay, let me see if I could get that reward again, Process EP comes out, get the reward again. Like, okay, cool, it's out there, people are listening to it. Is it as big as my most viral freestyle video? Of course not. That's going to take some time, but I still get the reward of seeing something I made be out in the world in that context.
Yeah, man, it's got to be hard to adjust to like a new cycle of, I guess, dopamine almost. Like, your freestyle cycle of content, reward. Now you're going into kind of some mystery that you haven't really leaned into it. And I got to say, I'm happy to see it, man. It's been really fun. It's been real fun to record, watch, edit. It's been awesome. I can't wait to see what you put on the paper next, man, because it's awesome, man.
Thank you, bro. No, I appreciate that. No, and it's true. It's the whole comfort zone thing. It's like just like everybody else, I guess, I would assume, I am always scared to get outside of the comfort zone. Obviously, it's like inherently terrifying. And so I'll push it off for a while. And then at a certain point, it's just like, nah, dude, you just have to jump.
Sure.
Like, you just have to leap. And I got to that point, too. I feel like with making records where it was like, dude, that is a part of who I am. And that has always been a part of who I am. And just because I'm not at the same level as a writer as I am as a freestyler doesn't mean that it's not time to start, leveling that out, even though it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, let that young MC that used to write out, man, see what he's got.
Hell yeah.
He's been there the whole time. I've been
MC Wonder. MC Wonder was his name.
The OG.
I should write under the alias MC Wonder. That'd be hilarious.
Bring them back. All right, so we got some fan questions here, like you said. A lot of this is based on the freestyle. I think it still applies to the writing. Go ahead.
Hell yeah. Let's get it. Shout out to Uncle Jasper. Question says, you've talked and freestyled about your meditation practice many times. I'd love to hear you elaborate on your practice and mindfulness in general and how it's been beneficial to your life, mental health, and career. Excuse me. Dope question. Love that. Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of my practice, like for meditation, I keep it very simple. Basically, my approach to meditation is I sit every morning. I mean, almost every morning. I've been doing that for the past few years at least. Definitely since I turned 30 is really when I started like committing to a daily thing. But yeah, I sit in the morning for 20 minutes. I set a timer for 20 minutes and I close my eyes and I focus on my breathing. And that's really it. Like, and basically, inevitably, my mind gets distracted from my breathing and gets caught up in some sort of, train of thought, which could be a myriad of different things. Oftentimes it's planning for me, which is interesting. So it's like, oh, I should do this and I should do that. Or it'd be really dope if we did this. Or, oh, I wonder what it'd be like if we made a video like this, et cetera, et cetera. Or, oh, I'm excited to be in the studio a little bit later. So a lot of times for me, it's sort of like ambitious planning, like goal-oriented career stuff. But it could also be, worries. Oh shit, like did I ever text that person back? Or oh no, like did I really say that? That was such a stupid thing to say the other night at dinner or whatever it is, just the pointless things that can sort of preoccupy our minds and get us caught. And inevitably I go to that, and then my goal is just to notice that that's happening, step outside of it. If you figuratively speaking, step outside of it, see it for what it is, and then notice the breath again and return to my breathing. So I just keep it super simple. That's all it is. 20-minute timer, sit, focus on the breathing. When I get distracted, notice it, note it, return to the breath. Boom. That's what mindfulness practice has been for me. And my concepts around mindfulness have primarily come from a book that my father actually gifted to me because it was a really impactful book for him. Because my father was a big meditator. When I was a kid, my dad was always waking up at like 4 a.m. and he would go sit in the backyard in his like black sweatsuit. I'd be like, what the hell is Dad doing? When I was a little kid. And my mom would be like, oh, he's meditating. So I always was aware that meditation existed. But shout out to my dad too, because he never pushed it on me. And he wasn't like, this is something I think you should do. But at a certain point, it must have been when I was in my late 20s, he came and visited me in LA and he gifted the book to me. And he said, hey, if you feel like checking this out, it was an important book for me. And it came at just the right time because I was struggling with a lot of stuff. I was struggling with like some of my addiction issues and struggling with just, having sort of a low self-image, low self-esteem stuff that a lot of us struggle with. Maybe some of you watching can relate. Anyway, the book is by this guy, John Kabat-Zinn, and it's called Wherever You Go, There You Are. And it's great because it's not really like, step by step, here's how to meditate or anything like really like methodical and, like direct application type of stuff. It's more just like themes and concepts. And there's plenty of stuff in there that you can apply directly. And, there's stuff about breathing and there's stuff about what to do when you get distracted. And there's plenty of like useful information, but there's also just a lot of broad concepts that kind of open my eyes to what mindfulness really was and how it might be, useful in my life. So that's a book that I highly recommend. And shout out to John Kabat-Zinn. That dude is super dope. I've also watched like his interviews and some of his talks that he's given. And he's one of the people that's responsible for bringing like Eastern mindfulness practices into Western medicine. He had a clinic like within a hospital where they were basically working with patients who like had some with like terminal illnesses or people who had chronic pain that was never going to go away, right? So scenarios where it's obviously insane, unfathomably difficult, but there has to be acceptance, right? Because it's not going to go away. And so they were using, mindfulness practices with those patients to great effect. And so shout out to John Kabat-Zinn. That's somebody we got to get on here. I'm going to wish it into existence. But yeah, and in terms of how it's been beneficial, I mean, it's funny because with meditation, I feel like there's this sort of dichotomy where like I could say it's been helpful in every aspect of my life, and that's, I think, true. And then at the same time, if you're doing meditation to get some kind of result, then you're kind of missing the point. So it's this weird kind of like dichotomy where like you really shouldn't be meditating like the mindfulness way of looking at meditation would be like there is no greater purpose to doing the meditation, you're just doing it to be in the moment. And then on the other hand, I feel like it's helped with my freestyling. It's helped ground me. It's allowed me to be more in the moment. It's definitely allowed me to cope better with stressful situations, you know, as I push myself and get out of my comfort zone. It's definitely helped me in terms of recognizing that my emotions are not reality, you know, that my emotions are just like, they are going to come and they're going to be whatever they are, but that they're not actually reality. So if I feel overwhelmed and stressed, like my world is not actually collapsing, you know, and I can actually potentially step outside of that emotion and see it for what it is and say, oh, wow, I'm overwhelmed right now. That's interesting. You know, let me just observe that. So yeah, man, I think it's really helpful. And I think it's dope. So, you know, for those of you who have been curious about it, if you've never tried before, maybe check out wherever you go, there you are.
Do you have any tips that you wish that you might have kept in mind when you're starting meditation? You're saying 20 minutes every morning now? You didn't start at that, right?
No, I started at like 5 minutes, probably, if that. And yeah, I mean, if you can focus on your breath for one breath cycle, like one in and out, you're killing it. Like seriously, I mean, that's kind of that is harder than you'd think if you've never tried it before, because the mind is just so active and it's always looking for something to latch onto. So yeah, I've worked it up to 20 minutes. And, you know, sometimes like, you know, things happen and my routine shifts around. Maybe I only have 10 minutes one day. Some days I don't get to do it in the morning, but then maybe I'll do a 1 or 2 minute mini meditation in the midst of a stressful day, or if I feel overwhelmed or at a transition point in my day. So I think it's, you know, anything is better than nothing if it's something that you're passionate about or curious about checking out. Just start slow and build it up. Baby steps.
Word. That's
Hell
good
yeah.
advice that I actually wanted to hear.
Yeah.
I love the idea of meditation. I haven't really cracked the code yet.
Yeah.
It seems kind of obscure to me. Like I hear people talk about it all the time, but it always feels as though there's a bit of a wall in front of it.
Yeah.
And there isn't like a really beginner's guide. I don't know. It seems obscure to me a little bit.
Yeah.
I would like to get more into it. So
Yeah, that's and it's true, man. There's so much mystery around it, and there's so much like, you know, it can feel like this woo-woo, like what are we even talking about? And you know, like I don't, you know, you can feel uncomfortable sitting there trying to do something when you have no idea what it is you're supposed to be doing. That's why I really like John Kabat-Zinn, because he kind of cuts through a lot of the bullshit. He's very just like, this doesn't have to be religion. This doesn't have to be woo-woo. This is literally waking up to the moment. It's like there's sound coming into your ears. You might as well listen to it for a few minutes out of the day, you know?
Yeah,
Your body is feeling things. There's a chair under you, you know? You might as well notice it. Well, what would happen if instead of thinking about how you said something stupid at dinner last night and, oh, I don't even like that guy really though, but I hope he likes me because I need everyone to like me, and oh, what am I doing? You know, instead of that, what if you just notice there's a chair under you for a couple minutes? You know, that's all it is.
So it kind of breaks the cycle of, instead of worrying about what you said at dinner and having that affect what you're saying next,
Yeah.
kind of just being present
For sure.
and starting from right now.
Yeah.
In a way, right?
I'd say so. Yeah, I totally feel that way. I feel like it's like clearing the cache of the mind too, you know? Your computer gets, you know, when you got to like clear the cookies and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
It's like doing that for your own brain, you know? We're just building up all these thoughts that stack on top of each other. You might notice, like, if you never meditated before, the first time you do it, you might have something profound happen where you say, God damn, the last 20, 30 years of my life have just been one giant stacking thought tower, you know?
It doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be. You could step outside and notice the tower instead of being inside of it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Here, I'll pull up the next one here.
Yes. And this is from Godly Magins, maybe? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. But please correct me in the comment section if that's you. Okay, the question is, I think there are many dreamers paralyzed by doubt for one reason or another. Money, fear of failure, etc. I'd love to chat about things preventing people from reaching their dreams. I would love to hear more about how you overcame self-doubt, like from thinking to doing. Yeah. Oh, man. That's a great question. How to go from thinking to doing.
And that self-doubt, like you talked about it in your intro, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of it has to do with that.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that one frame that's kind of helpful is to recognize that when you were a kid, like when you were a little kid, in like preschool or kindergarten, you probably didn't overthink what you were doing, right? Like if you wanted to go do the puzzle, you just like crawl on over there and start doing the puzzle, you know? Or somebody gave you a coloring book and you weren't like, oh, I better color with the appropriate colors within the line so that this looks like, a real Mickey Mouse, you just start scribbling all over the fucking thing, just like you didn't care. You just started doing the thing. So I think it's important to remember, and I say this to myself too, and try to remind myself that it's not like a natural, innate human thing from birth to be afraid of taking action. That's actually the natural thing, it seems, when we're young, is to take action. It's like you dream something up, like, oh, I want to color all over the page. And then you just grab a crayon and you do it. Sometimes you don't even want to do it on the page. You dream up, I want to color all over the wall. I want to color all over mom's white couch. And then mom's screaming at you. So, there's that. But, and importantly, mom screaming at you is one of the, unfortunately, first steps toward you turning into the adult that now overthinks things and now is afraid to take action, because I do think, not because of any ill will from the parent, hopefully, usually I think that's not the intention at all. Mom's just mad that you drew on the wall. But we get these messages from adults, from parents, from teachers, from coaches, whatever adults are in our lives, where at some point we think of something to do, we take action, and then an adult says that's wrong. That wasn't the right way to do it. You should take lessons and take it seriously so that you can learn the right way to do it. In other cultures, like speaking to music specifically, in other cultures, they just hand the little kids instruments right away, and the kids are up on stage with the adult professionals. And they're not like, they just hand them a tambourine or a drum or whatever it is. And that's just like, here you go. You're on stage with the professionals. And the kid is just, they don't have technique, but they're just going, and they're encouraged to go. And the professional musicians who know better know how to recontextualize what the kid is doing to make it work, right? Rather than the other way around. Rather than saying, oh, this little kid doesn't know how to play. Get them off the stage so the pros can do it and maybe sign them up for lessons so they can learn how to do it right. It's like, no. The kid knows what to do, and we can contextualize it and make it work with what we're doing. I think that's such a much more helpful approach, for kids to learn. So, yeah, I think as adults, we have to remember that, and we have to try to find ways to get back to that childlike curiosity. And one of the things that's so challenging that goes along with that childlike curiosity is to let go of judgment and to be okay with, like, to not be thinking in terms of good or bad. I never could have started freestyling if it had to be good from the very first time, because the first freestyle just was not good, and it's never going to be good, because when you first start at anything, you're not going to be good. You might have a spark of potential, or something that would maybe indicate early on that, oh, wow, this might actually be a thing for you, but it's still not going to be good, like according to, like a professional level. But I think the most helpful thing to do is just shed that whole notion entirely of good or bad. And it just is what it is, and to not judge it. The kid is not judging the crayon as they scribble all over the Mickey Mouse coloring book. They're not saying, is this good? And I think that's where so much of that, like, fear of failure and self-doubt is, like, we don't want to look silly to other people, right? When you're getting ready to do your first freestyle, you're doing it by yourself probably because you don't want to look silly in front of other people. And I think it's a natural thing, because we're social creatures, and, like in the past, we wouldn't survive if we weren't accepted by the group. So it's like a survival thing that we don't want to look stupid or be made fun of or be left out, because that used to mean life or death. And it's a very weird thing to be like a modern human, because we have all these things that we carry with us from, like, the hunter-gatherer era that are no longer that helpful. And this is one of them. It's okay to look silly. And in fact, it's necessary to look silly. And I used to always tell my drum students, beginners, if you want to sound great, you have to be 100% okay sounding bad. And that's one of my big things. If you want to sound great, you have to be 100% okay sounding bad. Or better yet, just don't even think in terms of good and bad, at least not for the first couple years. Just do it. So I think that's the big thing, for me, is getting back to that childlike state of play, and consider it play, consider it fun. If you can get into a frame of mind where you're not doing it to, like, be the next Kobe Bryant, or to be the next, George Lucas, or whoever it is you put on that pedestal and whatever it is that you're passionate about. If you can at least imagine that you're just doing it for fun, just to play around, like almost like a hobby. Just treat it like a hobby. That would be my advice.
And do you take that to, that's easy enough to do when you're sitting in your own bedroom.
Yeah.
Let's keep it with freestyling, just freestyling to an instrumental. But what do you think the importance is of, putting that out and then moving on to the next thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally know. Yeah. So I think it's always going to feel scary, I think, to take it from that, like, just using freestyling as an example. If you're just freestyling in your bedroom by yourself, that's one thing. To share it with the world is going to be daunting. But, my advice would be to take baby steps. So, like, one thing that you could do, if you've just been freestyling by yourself in your room, maybe see if there's like a friend that is also curious about freestyling. And then the two of you can get together, and start to bounce stuff off of each other. Nowadays, there's also a lot of like online ciphers and stuff like that where you can start getting with other rappers who are maybe at your skill level. And I'm sure this applies to anything else too, visual arts or whatever it is. There are so many online communities, and usually there are communities for beginners, right? Or people who are just trying to get started and trying to find other people to learn with. And so I think that can be sort of the next step, is like find some other people like you who are just starting out, who are trying to stay in that childlike, playful state, who are trying not to judge themselves, and build with those people for a while. And then, maybe you're ready to share something, and you don't have to share something under the guise of like, this is it, I'm giving you this and it's important. It can just be like, oh wow, I filmed myself doing this thing for a minute on my phone, and the footage is a little shaky and it's a little blurry at one point, but it doesn't matter because I'm not trying to save the world with this first video, right? And you just put it out and see what happens. And the more that you do that process of making something and putting it out, the less scary it feels, and eventually it's just something you do.
What was going through your head when you hit upload on one of the first videos that you were actually in control of uploading? It's not bounce house that was kind of a little bit out of your hands. You helped get guided to that position.
Totally.
But when you uploaded one of your first videos, do you feel any confidence? Did you feel a little nervous? What was that like?
Yeah. Oh, dude, I definitely felt nervous, man. Yeah, I had a lot of I had a lot of feelings of like, I don't know if this is really it. I don't know if this is going to do anything. I was lucky because like I already had Bounce House come out, like because I was pushed by my friend. Shout out to Jacob Mann, dude. If that guy doesn't get enough credit because he pushed me off the edge of the cliff. Sometimes you just need that. Sometimes you need somebody to give you a push. Right. I don't know if he knew what he was doing in terms of giving me that push, but it definitely worked. But I was lucky in that sense, but yeah, even still, man, like when I go live, like right before I click live, every time, that's just a little reminder of the feeling, a little micro reminder. Cause like right when my mouse scrolls over it, I can almost at this point, I've done it so many times where I'm almost just like, oh yeah, scroll over and click. But every time I hover for like 1 second and I'm like, oh shit, are we doing this? All right, let's go. And then I click it. So yeah. And I still deal with a lot of doubt. I still deal with a lot of, insecurity and stuff like that. I'm in a much better place than I was, but to be sure, I still have negative self-beliefs that follow me, and I'm working on shedding them as often as I can and replacing them with more positive self-beliefs. But I will say that as scary as it is to complete something and share it with the world, nothing gets better for me until I take that step. And I could sit around and think about it forever, but whether the content is good and gets a lot of views or is or for whatever reason doesn't get a lot of views, or people don't like it, or whatever it is, if I don't take that action, then nothing happens, period. And what I really don't want is to be 80 years old thinking back on what my life could have been. So it's kind of like I have no choice, I have to take action. And I think it can be helpful to consider, the other option is regret, which I think is so much worse than the fear that we feel in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of necessary. It's like, when you pressed upload on one of your first videos, it's not like you had the entire vision up there in front of you, but you would have never gotten there without working your way there. So if somebody hits upload on the same type of video, maybe it leads to what their actual like calling and vision is, but you can't find that unless you go through the messy, uncomfortable uploads. Yeah.
And the other thing to remember is like we as humans are really not very good at differentiating between fear and danger. So for example, like a lot of people are afraid to get on an airplane, but they're totally fine speeding down the freeway at 80 miles per hour. you're so much more likely to die speeding down the freeway at 80 miles per hour, which many of us do daily, than getting on a commercial plane, right? There's almost no chance you're going to have a problem on a commercial plane. Very, very rare. Or, the other example is like parents who are afraid of their kids swimming in the ocean. But the reality is so many more people die in the bathtub than in the ocean from sharks. We're afraid of the sharks in the ocean, but actually the bathtub is statistically a much more dangerous place to be swimming. So we're really bad at differentiating between fear and danger. And so it's very scary to take action toward our dream, right? It's very scary to move away from a job that feels stable to enter into the great unknown so that you can pursue your dream of being whatever it is, an entrepreneur or an artist or whatever it is, or whatever it is that motivates you, right? That's scary, but it's not actually dangerous in most cases. What's dangerous is staying in the job that's not fulfilling for you at all, right? Or what's dangerous is arriving at 70, 80 years old and realizing that you never took that leap, because that's actually crushing, and there's real danger in that. That could actually crush your soul. But putting out the content or dropping a song, that's scary, but it's not dangerous. It's not going to hurt anybody. If I put out the wackest song that anybody has ever made tomorrow, we're all going to be okay. Everyone will be safe.
Amazing, man.
Yeah.
Easier said than done, though, as always, right?
And you know what? Since I started making things and putting them out into the world, I've been doing it ferociously to make up for lost time for all the years that I was too scared to do it. So I can relate to anybody that's too scared to do it. And since I started doing it, I have so much more respect for anybody who does it, period. Regardless of if I like it or not, completely irrelevant. Anytime I see somebody announce, my album's out today, my short film is on YouTube now. Every time I'm like, right on. Fuck yes. Good for you. Way to go. You should fucking treat yourself today. Go have a bowl of ice cream or whatever gets you fired up. Yeah. So shout out to all the artists, man.
For real. Yeah. I love that. All right. Well, that was a good couple questions there. And then if you don't mind, I would love to pull up some of your own content and get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, let's do it.
And I would love to continue doing this throughout the episodes, if that's cool, of Flow State, because we've all watched a lot of this content so many times that I want to hear your thoughts. I'm sure the fans do as well.
Yes.
One of the first things that I've got pulled up here is something not too long ago, and it's your opportunity to freestyle in front of Ice Cube. We'll just hit play right here.
Perfect.
Mack freestyling on the set of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in front of Ice Cube.
Yeah.
Let's get it.
Seriously, huge fan.
Appreciate it, man. I never know what to do when people are rapping in front of me. So don't take whatever it does. If I just stand there like this, don't take. That doesn't mean I don't like it.
No, super excited to be here with you all. How's everybody feeling?
Feeling good.
Okay.
What are you thinking right now? Ice Cube's on your right shoulder, man.
Dude, oh man, definitely nervous. Couple things. One, we had just flown back from Hawaii, Odyssey tour. We were in Hawaii, literally like I landed the day before, or I think it was the night before or something.
Yeah, it was the night before.
Dude, flew back from Hawaii, slept as much as I could, and had to be here in the morning. So yeah, my brain was like scrambled. I remember being nervous, especially because of that. I was like, dude, I'm exhausted. Like we had just completed the US tour. Hawaii was the last show of the US tour. So we had done like 25 shows or something like that. Biggest shows I've ever done. Very physically and mentally demanding. So, and I knew I had this huge opportunity to rap for Ice Cube. So there's that element. Another funny thing to point out too is when we got there, because the idea was I was going to freestyle for Ice Cube, the actors who were playing the Turtles, and then Seth Rogen, which is I was super fired up about. But when we got there, they were like, yeah, Seth isn't quite sure like that he wants to be on camera for the freestyle. He says he doesn't ever really know how to react to rappers.
Fair.
Yeah. In terms of like visually, if he's being filmed, I'm sure is what he meant, which is totally fair. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. We often do, the thing I'm most known for is reaction-based content. And, everybody's personality is different. And just because somebody doesn't light up big on camera doesn't mean that they're not feeling it, right? So I think, so anyway, we weren't sure if Seth was going to be in the clip, and he ended up being in the clip. And his reaction was great. So, it worked out perfectly. But yeah, definitely nervous, definitely worried that my brain was a little too scrambled having just flown back from Hawaii. And, but obviously excited to be, in the presence of hip-hop royalty. Okay, I love it. Let me make sure I got him. Ooze, mayhem, manhole, superfly, pepperoni, and last but not least, warthog. I think I'm ready. Should we give this a shot?
Let's do it.
I know you did some turtle studying
Yeah.
before this.
Yeah.
What does your preparation look going into something like this?
I use an app called Flashcards Deluxe. Shout out to Flashcards Deluxe. Not sponsored, but really fire app for making flashcards on your phone. But yeah, if I'm entering into a world where I'm not necessarily like inherently versed within the context of that world, I'll create flashcards. So like I was studying, I basically just like refamiliarizing myself because it had been a long time. I used to watch the Ninja Turtles cartoon when I was a kid, but I was and I loved it. But I was refamiliarizing myself with the colors and the weapons and the characters and how they all correspond, and like who's who the villains are, the key environments. Stuff like that. So I'm just trying to have as broad of a context as possible so that like when I'm pulling references in, I know that they make sense. For something like Star Wars original trilogy, it's like embedded. Like I have it, I know it's all there and I can reference so many things easily with confidence. But if I'm less familiar, if it's been a while or if it's something that's completely new to me, I feel it's really important to put some time in. So for about a week or two before this, I had the deck, and like while we were finishing up tour on flights and stuff, I would be sort of like testing myself and studying.
If I may, there was one more question that kind of ties into this area here.
Yeah.
Are there any tricks that you employ to remember all these words? Like you're standing in front of Seth Rogen, Ice Cube, the cast.
Yeah.
How do you remember all these words that are given to you?
Yeah, so I used to not have a strategy, and then I would forget the words a lot more frequently, or I just would only take one word at a time. And I immediately knew that it would be really valuable to develop a strategy to try to remember the words. So I kind of like came up with a strategy organically, and then in learning more recently about like tools and strategies for memorizing long lists and things like that, I was like, okay, it was validating. I was like, that makes sense. That's kind of in line with what I do. But basically for me, I try to receive the words in order. So like in this case, it's all these people lined up. It's like I'll go down the line in order, usually. And sometimes somebody will yell something out from further down the line. And then I have to be like, okay, all right. Yeah. But basically what I'm doing is I'm tying the suggestion to the person that gave it to me. I'm kind of imagining it's floating over their head like an icon. So like Superfly, like I might think of Curtis Mayfield, the soul singer who did the soundtrack for Superfly. So it's like you turn it into an icon that will remind you, and then that's just like sitting over Ice Cube's head, or pepperoni. I'm just like seeing a pepperoni pizza, and it's like sitting over the head of whoever gave that suggestion. Yeah. And you kind of burn it in that way. And then when you go back through it, as soon as you look at the person, you're like, oh yeah, there's the pepperoni pizza over their head. And it reminds you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So converting to imagery and then tying the image to the person is like my big 2-step process.
I think this one was a little interesting too, because I think the words started to come kind of out of order.
Yeah.
So that it gets a little tricky, man.
That's when it gets crazy. But
it's always impressive.
Thank you. Well, it's okay if the words come out of order usually, although it is harder. What's really messed up is when people change their order after I've started freestyling. Ooh. So like if everybody in this line just shuffled, then I would be like, what's going on? Because I'm looking and I'm like, it's supposed to be a pepperoni pizza, but he's not the pepperoni pizza. And so then everything gets quite confusing. All right, let's get it, y'all. Turn this up. Yeah, okay, yeah, off the top of the dome, listen, off the top of the dome, every time that I rhyme, yo, we lock in the zone, Mack getting busy when I'm in the cypher circle, I'm underground like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it's Mack, I'm about to bubble like jacuzzi, I'm blessed to be here, helping with promo for the movie, yeah, anybody step in the Mack gonna lose, when it comes to off top, I'm the one they choose, around the whole scene, I'm about to peruse, over these beats, man, I let my lyrics ooze. Okay. Mack, I be flowing off the brain. I feel the instrumental while it's oozing through my veins. It's oozing through my blood. It's oozing through my body. The way that I come off the top of the mental, they know that the lyrics are... All right, hold on. Pause it. All right, yeah, so a few things to point out just from the technique side. One, for ooze, I went for it. I went for a 4-bar phrase. So 3 bars of setup and then landing with the word ooze. Usually, like my regular baseline way of doing it would just be a simple setup punchline couplet. So it's just 2 bars. One thing that rhymes with ooze, and then we land on ooze. But in that case, I went for the 4 bars. So it's like 3 lines that end with something that rhymes with ooze, and then finally the line that ends with ooze. And then I also use this other technique that I sometimes use where I just hammer the word. So it's like I ooze like blank. I ooze like blank. And I do that a lot, and I don't even know how I'm going to fill in the blank. Once I start it, I just kind of improvise them in the moment. Like I ooze like blood, ooze like saliva, ooze like lyrics from the mind of the lava, a rapper who oozes with sound through XLR chords. It oozes from my brain to the mic, gets absorbed. I let it ooze through my system, through my nervous and my digestive. I let it ooze in a way that can't be tested. And you just like start going, but just by hammering the word, it's just like always tying me back into things that ooze. So that's one thing I wanted to point out is something that I do a lot. And then at the end, a little triplet burst to, for some fireworks.
It's surprising every time too, because when you're hearing someone freestyle, you're just waiting for like, can they do it once?
Yeah.
And you're like, here's a dozen.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if you know this. The guy in the quilted coat here.
Yeah.
I saw him on a popular comedy podcast called Kill Tony.
Oh, dope.
On stage freestyling recently.
Oh, really?
I was like, did he get a little inspired by the...
Oh,
it's cool. It's cool.
That's dope. I wonder why he didn't kick some bars on this occasion, man.
I don't know, but he was feeling it. He brought good energy, man.
Definitely, man.
Yeah.
That's dope. All right, hell yeah. Shout out to him.
It happen. I'm microphone slaying, never playing. My lyrics about to cause some mayhem. Every time I spit for y'all, I prove that I'm a straight boss. I said I'm causing mayhem. My flow is causing chaos. Yeah, H-Mack, y'all know that I rock with thieves. Opening up these doors because I got the keys. Yeah, H-Mack, man, I got a sweet brain. This is giving new definition to turn keychain.
My favorite bar of the video.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. That one came to me. Yeah, it's important too, like I feel to, when I have these opportunities, like I'm rapping for Ice Cube, and Seth Rogen, it's like I'm trying to make the best, like most complete package I can in the frame of time that I have. In this case, like, 5 minutes or whatever it is. And so I feel like it's really important to weave the classic kind of visual freestyle references in with the word schemes. So it's like I try not to get so stuck on remembering the words and making sure I'm doing the words justice if it's not going to allow me to also just notice his keychain and do something fun off that. I think tying the visual thing in, and that's what's so kind of magical about it too. Like I feel like a sleight of hand magician in a sense, because it's like we're doing the word thing and I have your attention over here on words, okay, I'm going through your words, right? But then like while you're focused over here, I'm like, oh, but the keychain. And then I'm already rapping about it and you're like, wait, what? And then all of a sudden like perspective shifts. It's like, oh, we're rapping about the dude. And then I pull another word back and you're like, oh, the words, Yeah. And I think freestyling in so many ways is about like creating an expectation, and solidifying it and then breaking the expectation for that wow. And then again, once that becomes, oh, he's doing visual stuff now, then going back here feels new and exciting. So yeah.
I see you balance that during Gorilla Bar shoots too. It's like some groups might need a little bit more of the visual to stay engaged. Hey, here's your coat. Here's some bars about that.
Yeah.
Than others. Look at Cube here looking at that keychain like, where's he going? Where's he going?
Hell yeah.
It's so good, man.
Epic.
H-Mack, man, I got a sweet brain. This is giving new definition to turn keychain. H-Mack, man, I break it down. Cause when I rhyme, I'm delivering the crazy sound. Here, coming right over the tip of this. When I get loose and they be loving all the rhymes Harry Mack can produce. Now I said, off the dome, I let the thunder pound. Beneath the manhole, my flow's underground. Yeah, it's H-Mack, man, I'ma send it through ya. I said I'm underground like I'm chilling in the sewer. H-Mack, I'm here, I be under the surface. I'm living my purpose, I'm stepping up, I'm feeling mad nervous. They said, Mack,
Facts.
you nervous? Truly, why? I said, I'm sitting next to Cube, yo, that's super fly. H-Mack getting busy, when I rhyme, I stay real. Super fly, word to Curtis Mayfield. It's H-Mack, y'all know I be taking control. I said, word to Curtis, when I spit, I got that soul. Yeah.
Hold on, pause it real quick. So I knew that that Cube was gonna, I thought that he would fuck with the Curtis Mayfield reference because, like, Ice Cube was all about like sampling like classic funk stuff and classic soul records from that era. Like he was always, quite often sampling like George Clinton and Parliament and, whether it was like with Dre and NWA, like they were so deep into that like funk soul sound, and so many of those classic records that he was a part of pulled from that genre. So I was like, yo, I bet he might fuck with this Curtis Mayfield reference. And when I said it, it was like because he was smiling and bouncing to all the references, but when I said it, I felt like it was like a more serious kind of like, okay, yep, like for sure. They're like, yep, I see what you did there. Yeah.
It's when I spit, I got that soul. Yeah, love to this man, it ain't no trouble to display. I'm with the legend out of NWA. Straight out of Compton, inspiring every rapper in the game. This cat is a true master, it's insane. Blessed just to be here in your presence. Yo, when I rhyme, I be channeling the essence. These rappers, small fish, something like an anchovy. They don't entice me, my flow is spicy like some pepperoni. It's mad, I'm all up on it and my lyrics about to reach ya. Hot and fresh with bars like oven-baked pizza. Matter of fact, my freestyle, I must release this. Other artists is too cheesy, just like Deep Dish. I'm with the Ninja Turtles, so we out in New York. Yeah, Mack, I'm on top with the rhyming reports. Hey yo, I stand tall without no stilts. I stitch my letters together just like a quilt. Mack, I make a known, I'ma pull it off the coat. When it comes to kicking lyrics, people knowing that I'm dope. Matter of fact, my freestyle's about to make you holler. Y'all got me feeling mad underdressed. I should've worn a collar. Yeah, busy when displaying the vocals. Shouts to my man laying low in the polo. When it comes to lyrics, they know I'm the hardcore dog. H-Mack might transform to a warthog. Yeah, when I'm rhyming, I be in that MC spot. Shouts to the legendary warthog bebop. When I rhyme, y'all know I'm the raw free sparker. Speaking of bebop, I improvise like Charlie Parker. Mack, I'm getting busy. There's no one who could test me. I improvise off the dome like Dizzy Gillespie. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, we about to slay. Rhyming with Cube, gotta say, yo, it was a good day.
That was the truth. That was the truth right there. Yeah.
Damn.
Without a doubt.
All of you, thank you so much. Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
I'm happy for you. Off the dome is the hardest rhyming. That's the hardest rap you could do is off the dome, and he did it with ease. You know, you're a master.
Thank you.
Damn.
Thank you. That means so much to me, especially coming from somebody like you.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. I know what you just did, baby. It's hot.
Sir.
It's
Yes,
hot,
sir.
man.
Thank you.
You're great. Yeah.
Like the brain power you need.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Man, and you guys came with some tricky words, too.
Damn, yo. Yeah, that's fucking crazy. Crazy. Shout out to Ice Cube, man, one of the legends of the game, dude. Yeah, even now, just watch. I haven't watched this really since it came out, but yeah, the him at the end just giving props like that is like insane. And when he says, you know, I know what you did, like, yeah, he does. You know, he's been around everyone and is himself one of the greats. So that's so dope, man. That's like my favorite part about you know, having this career is that, you know, it's allowed me to interact with like some of my heroes and legends in the game and get to do something unique and special for them, you know? So, again, like when I say I'm passionate about freestyling off the top of the dome, like I mean that with my whole heart, like being able to freestyle off the top of the dome and focusing so much on that, even when people are like, oh, what's that really going to be? Or where's that really going to lead? It's like, dude, at the end of the day, it led me to being able to shake hands with fucking Ice Cube, man, and you know, to like receive some positive validation from somebody that's just like undeniable like that is like such a blessing, you know? So yeah, shout out to Ice Cube, shout out to Seth Rogen, obviously a legend as well. Anybody like around my age is like Seth Rogen is like, you know, we were just watching all those movies when we were in like middle school and high school and all that. So yeah, super dope moment, man. Yeah. Oh yeah, on the technical point too. It's funny because like my bar for Warthog, I didn't really have a bar. I realized I was like nervous, or at that moment, I could tell from watching it, I'm so adrenalized. It's like there's this point that comes where in the beginning I'm nervous, then I kind of just like tip into it a little bit and like start like, and then I'm like running the motions and I'm like, oh yeah, I know how to do this. Okay, cool. And then it starts building on itself. And then I like notice good reactions from like Ice Cube. I'm like, oh, he's fucking with it. Oh, crazy. And then like good reactions from the crowd. And then I like get some better bars. And then eventually I'm just like, ah, like inside my head, it's just like, it's all happening, you know? And then I was so adrenalized. I was like, oh yeah, Warthog. And then I didn't really have a bar. So like I just said, H-Mack, I might transform to a warthog, which is like, that's random as fuck. Like, but I might. So there's that. But then afterwards, I had to make up for it because, due to my research for this movie in particular, I knew that, the warthog character is named Bebop, which could be a more, fertile word for me because, I'm a jazz musician as well. And so, I was able to go from bebop to referencing Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie. And so I felt like that was one of the dopest parts of the freestyle. So luckily I was able to make up for the warthog thing, but that's always just a funny line to me. H Mack, I might transform to a warthog. Like that should be my business card or like my new YouTube banner. Sup, y'all? H Mack, I might transform to a warthog.
You never know.
But I did say I'm the hardcore boss. And then it's like a warthog is a very villainous kind of like creature, especially in this particular context. So, I still fuck with it. It was still fire.
Man, that whole cast was awesome.
Hell yeah. Oh, dude, super dope, man. Everyone was really, really awesome and just an insane opportunity.
Good work. Can I throw you a fan-submitted freestyle to react to?
Yes.
Let's keep it moving?
Let's keep it moving.
Let's get it. All right. This was thrown in by Jay Nicer.
Yeah, shout out to Jay Nicer. If you want to submit your questions or your freestyles for me to react to on the pod, go to harrymackofficial.com/flowstatepod, and we'll have that on the screen as well so y'all can see it. But we'd love to hear from y'all. Send some videos. Even if you're asking a question, send a video. That'd be super dope. Would love to, see your beautiful faces while answering your questions. And to all the freestylers, yes, very excited to be able to give some feedback. Let's check this out.
Dorm Freestyle.
Look, to keep it $150, they never would fuck with me, and it fuck with me. Just me, myself, in this fuck city, and I ain't got no luck with me. It's like the odds been against me. I'm trying to define the odds, but I find it odd. Most of these rappers been talking like they body rap, it's foul. I body rap like a towel. Freestyle off the dome, life's an awkward hoe, obstacle. Is you gonna fold or stay loyal? Or we doing this shit to my grave soil? To the cemetery, shit is necessary. If it ain't money, it's coming secondary.
Hey, all right, hell yeah. That little TikTok alien sound always gets me. Damn, bro. Wait, the first thing I wanted to say was stay loyal and grave soil is fucking fire. That's dope. First of all, the voice goes crazy. Super hard voice. Just reminds me of like some like shit from 1993 or something. It sounds like some boot camp clique or some crazy like hardcore New York shit from the 90s in terms of the vocal tone. So that immediately just sonically, I was like, vocal tone is fire. And then also like there's a lot of, I wonder where this cat is from or where they live or if they're on the East Coast or not. But even rhyme-wise, there was a lot of like multi-syllabic stuff that reminded me of, some classic East Coast like lyrical shit from the 90s. So I really enjoyed that part. My constructive feedback would be, I think, this cat would benefit from working on the flow a little bit more and from focusing on the rhythmic component. Just because the flow was kind of in and out of the beat at times, and it didn't feel like the flow was super dialed in with the instrumental, or like there was like a really strong control over like putting the lyrics right in the pocket and being like, this is where the rhyme's about to land. This one's about to hit you hard right here. And for me, I think that's just a really, really important aspect. And I'm obviously very lucky because I'm also a drummer. So, rhythm is something that I've studied like on its own, even separate from rapping. And then I sort of apply what I think of as a drummer to my freestyling. But I think anybody can work on their rhythm and flow. And like one of the best ways to do that is just to rap along with, your favorite records and sort of get that, that rhythmic pocket kind of like embodied, like let it sort of soak into your system and absorb it through osmosis. And I'm sure this cat listens to a lot of great hip hop and probably raps along and knows every word. So I'm sure you're already doing that. Oftentimes the challenge is not that you aren't familiar with like the rhythm or the flow pockets. It's more so just being able to execute them live while you're freestyling, while you're rhyming, and while you're improvising. And obviously that takes a lot of time. So that would be my feedback, is to focus on the rhythm. And I find with freestyling, you can actually, like a lot of times for beginners, I say focus on the rhythm before the content, period. Like if you are in the pocket, you can get away with a lot of like lines that don't make that much sense. You know what I mean? Like seriously, because it is music, at the end of the day, like we're presenting a piece of music And rhythm is one of the most important aspects of music. So if you're just in the pocket, you can, repeat stuff. Wise guy, when I start to improvise. Wise guy, when I start to rise. The wise guy, the guy be so wise when I improvise live. They do not despise the guy. That's why, I don't know, like that to me, all right, like I start doing this, when I hear it, even though it's like, all right, we get that you're the wise guy. You said that like 9 times already. But, you'd be surprised, wise guys, at how effective rhythm is in and of itself. So, dude, I mean, good news for this cat. He's got the voice. He's got the multisyllabic rhyme concepts. He's got like, there's so many things that are already locked in. Once the rhythm and the flow part are locked in as well. It's just like, I want to hear some records from this cat, man.
Real quick, what about the setting? Like, what is the dorm freestyle? What does that make you think about?
Yeah, that's hard. First of all, like, I relate to that, dude. Dorm freestyle, let's fucking go, man. That's all I was doing in college, basically, was dorm freestyles, man. Yeah, it brings me right back, man. Yeah, it was like the homie had a MacBook open on his desk, and we were just doing it in photo booth, the video mode in photo booth. And recording videos of me freestyling. Some of them made their way to the interwebs or were discovered from the depths of the interwebs recently. But I respect the dorm freestyle, man. You can easily put your 10,000 hours in that dorm room, man. I speak from experience, so keep going.
Yeah, do your homework too, kids.
Hell yeah.
Sometimes. Can we get you to spit it free?
Yes, let's do it. Let's do it.
Are you down?
Very, very down.
Let's get it. How about this Big L type beat? Do you want to jump right in?
Let me think. Yeah, I guess so. What do we talk about? We'll find it in the flow.
Yeah.
Thank y'all so much for rocking with me. You know what it is, man. Flow State Podcast. Always a pleasure. We're going to close this thing out the way we know how. I'm going to go off top, man, and I feel inspired. How can I not feel inspired after some of these questions and freestyles and things that we watch? So let's get it. Yeah. Yeah. Other rappers don't pull weight. Close my eyes and then I enter flow state. Yeah, new levels I'm achieving. When I meditate and focused on my breathing, I get it poppin', they know I spit it clever. And when it comes to off top, my bars stretch forever. Mack staying on the freestyle endeavor. But this year in 2024, we dropping records. Yeah, I'm known for blowing minds up in the cypher. But deep within myself, I heard the voice of the writer. A tiny little murmur, it was sounding like a whisper. He was saying, let me hop out, write rhymes and paint pictures. Don't you remember back when you was just 10? When writing rhymes with your pen had you in the state of zen? Yeah, when you're stretching all up off the endocrine, that's dope. But now I'm blowing through like the winter wind. Got the competition trembling, now we combining both styles align. The improvised rhyme and the shining bright with the written word combo. Every time I spit it off the top, it be beyond dope. Check out the process, finally got the flow moving when I'm in the studio, so I can do my duty, bro. I take it to a whole nother plane. Whether I be writing like Mozart or improvising like Coltrane, or Sonny Rollins when he's all up at the Vanguard. When I'm spitting off the top, they say the man's hard. Getting it poppin', never be stopping, y'all know I'ma win. In a meditative state, just like Kabat-Zinn. Yeah, I'm known for spitting the cleverest bars I find in life. Wherever you go, yo, there you are. Can't escape yourself, so you might as well own it and observe. I be meditating while I'm spitting out these words. Get you lifted like the herb with no ganja or marijuana. Still the room smoky like sauna from the freestyles while I'm wild stacking up commas. Getting to the paper, straight up pulling off the caper. I'ma bless you with this. My flow leaves you shook. Kabat-Zinn, my dad gave me the book. It came at the perfect time. I was on my mission, but I was struggling with my addiction. Meditating helped me focus on my intuition. And nowadays I'm shining brighter when I'm in the rhyming cipher. Led me to opportunities where I could spit something hype through. Standing with the legendary Ice Cube, getting props from one of my heroes. Open up the window so that I can spit the clear flow. Here goes another one. Grip up on the mic and let the anger bust. We're not good at knowing what's fearful and what's dangerous. It's quite insane when people complain and say I don't feel ready to hop on that plane. I mean, I understand where the fear comes from. Up there in the heavens, sitting on a 747. But the reality is don't be afraid not to travel far, cause it's more dangerous up in your car. Yeah, rappers are fearful to spit bars, but then again it's dangerous to step up to the czar. So I comprehend it both combined. I boast with rhymes that roast your mind, the most ferocious kind. Yeah, I turn the instrumental to a ghost divine. When I spit for you, I show my mind. In fact, I show my spine. No column cause I be breaking backs with sacred raps. We invest the money, make it back. day. Easily better believe in me. Y'all know I'm here, facing my fear. Leap in the net will appear. My advice to creatives: you don't have to do it just to win this, but it feels good when it's finished. Film something on your phone, doesn't have to be perfect. Put it out in the open and do yourself that service. Anytime I see it, I be saying, my God. Anybody who completes something, they get my applause. Yeah, cause just by doing it, I gotta love it. It doesn't matter if it appeals to me, I won't judge it. The fact of the matter is, I know it's a challenge. The fact of the matter is, it's hard to find balance. The fact of the matter is, it's hard to take the steps so that you can put in multiple reps. I remember when my breath was caught in my chest just to kick a flow, and now that's exactly where I go on every occasion. I'm spitting lyrics that are blazing with the audience. They know I stay engaging. Yeah. Is that autoplay? Hey, shit. Hold on. Drop the next one. I got more to say.
I got you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Flow state. Come on. Yeah. Hey, gotta leap, then the net will appear. That's the risk that we taking this year. I don't know that we facing them fears. I don't know that we make the path clear. I don't know that we putting in the work. When I'm rhyming, the people go with berserk. In my chest, man, I really feel the hurt. Y'all know that I'm coming in first. Peace to the artist that's putting that time in. Y'all know that Mack be steady rhyming in alignment, regardless of the medium. Yeah, blind to the rhymes, they ain't seeing him. We be freezing them down to nothing when I'm busting off the top. The Mack ain't bluffing. Yeah, hit you with the lyrical raw blast. I had to make it crack on the podcast. Yeah, I'm doing what I'm feeling. I'm one in a million when I spit. I never bring them bummer vibes. Thinking back on everything that we discussed. Right now it's all getting summarized. Y'all know I got love for homie Jacob, man. He was helping me. Peace to the people that push you over the cliff and get you past them self-beliefs. They got limits that are arbitrary. Back in the day, it was hard for Harry. Yeah, I was living foul. I was living like an actor. Couldn't even see myself as a rapper. Felt like a disaster. Couldn't see myself growing to the freestyle master. Nowadays I grip up on the MIC. I'm passionate. I feel like I be preaching like a pastor. What? Every time I spit a raw verse, it's kinda like I'm taking y'all to church. I'm all up in the studio, I feel like this music is my religion. Cause right now I'm so tuned in with my vision, making people listen all across the planet. The steps that we take as artists are gigantic. Y'all know I start to get close every single day through incremental growth. Yeah, looking up at the top, can't even see the peak of that mountain. And I'm so far down below, the depth of the climb is astounding. When I look up to the top, yo, it starts to make me feel proud. Cause I know one day I'ma be there, step by step, I'ma enter the clouds. Yeah, before I know it, I'll be up at the summit. The game, I'ma run it. You know I never plummet. I'm never about to fall like an avalanche. I remember when I felt I didn't have a chance. I was looking in the mirror. Only thing that I could see was my fear. That's all that appeared. Only thing I could see was myself losing. I was steady abusing alcohol and weed each and every morning. Couldn't get out of my bed. Ayy, couldn't even face the day with that adrenaline cause of the voices in my head. Ayy, so much negativity surrounding me. Now I look around and I found I'm free. Finally, I had to take them steps. Had to do it. Had to make sure I catch my moment. Had to own it. Now we traveling far. Yeah, Mack is not the one to battle with bars. I would rather use my skill and this lyrical fire to help anybody listening. My goal's to inspire. So if you got a dream, but you scared of losing out on stability you feel from your position right now, just consider that it's not dangerous to try. It's only dangerous to look back with regret in your eyes. It's only dangerous to recognize that you denied yourself to have that opportunity to fully apply. The only dangerous thing is not respecting your soul. Just to make it, man, at times we must surrender control. Let's go. Hey, Flow State Pod, y'all know what it is, man. We out here. Let's go. Thank y'all so much for watching, man. Hope y'all enjoyed. Peace.